everybody. This is Shirley. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Great. Yeah, so we were having some issues with our audio, so sorry about that. So let's get started. So hi, everyone, and welcome to the October 2018 Family Daycare Home Sponsored Call on the CACFP New Meal Pattern. Just as a reminder, please make sure you're using a clear phone line, and we are doing that ourselves. If you have a microphone on your computer as well, please mute the microphone on your computer before calling in to prevent feedback. So before we get started, let's take a quick roll call of all of the people on the line. So who here is from CCDS?
Carolyn, Debbie, and Lance.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. All right, so let's move on to Mid-Willamette. Who here is from Mid-Willamette?
Sue, Laura, Kathy, Jackie, Shelley, and Yelena.
All right, so you guys got a big crew there, so welcome, everybody.
Sure.
Next, let's go to Northwest Nutrition. Anybody here from Northwest Nutrition? Okay, so let's move on to OCDC. Anybody here from OCDC? All right, so it looks like we might just have CCDS and Mid-Willamette with us today. So let's move on to the people that's here on our side from ODE. So I'm gonna let everybody in the room introduce themselves. So
Lynn Reynoso, good morning, all. Megan Tashida. Dorothy Miller.
Kim Cordova. Buenos dias, it's Kathy.
Dee Dee Pointer. Nicole Gregoros.
all right, so that's everybody here today. So on your screen, you should be able to see our agenda just as soon as I pull it up. We will be reviewing the new meal pattern memos that ODE CNP has released since our last call on September 17th, 2018. We will get a quick update on new or revised resources on the ODE CNP webpage, get feedback on timing for ODE CNP meal pattern training for providers, and review changes to the draft meal disallowed chart since last month. So near the end of our meeting, we will also open up the floor for any meal pattern questions that's out there. So let's start first with the new ODE CNP meal pattern memo that was issued. The only meal pattern memo issued since the last call was a reissuing of CACFP memo number 13/2018. This was titled the Child Nutrition Program's Flexibilities for School Year 2018 to 2019. This memo is most relevant to school districts, but for CACFP sponsors, there is a section that now allows flavored 1% milk for children 6 years old and older. Again, this is an old memo which had previously been issued on July 26, 2018, and has been reissued since the school year has begun. Are there any questions about this?
No.
Okay, let's move on to trainings for providers. As we had mentioned a few months back, we have a small amount of funds to train CACFP providers on meal pattern related topics. And we are developing webinars on meal pattern overviews, available resources, grains, special dietary needs, infant menus, and developmental readiness for a family daycare home provider specific audience. These will be half-hour-long webinars open to providers and family daycare home sponsors. To accommodate the provider schedules, we are looking into having these webinars once a month on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Based on your knowledge of provider schedules, do you feel that this time, which is Saturday at 10 a.m., will be convenient for providers? Does anybody also have any other suggestions about timing?
My only other suggestion would be maybe during the weekday during nap time, if it's a half-hour class.
Okay.
What nap time?
Weekdays at 10 a.m. too.
During nap time.
During nap time. Oh, at nap time.
Nap time like from 1 to 2:15. is that kind of gap.
Okay. Yeah, we'll look into those as well. We were thinking maybe having a more consistent schedule so that providers will find it more easy to find us from month to month. Do you think it would work better to have a more varied schedule?
I think varied myself. I mean, a lot of people have family for weekends, and that might be tough.
Yeah, okay, that's really good feedback. We'll look into varying it.
So are these trainings, Shirley, are they with a trainer like you where you would have to be there, or are they just something that providers could watch at their leisure?
This would be live webinars,
Okay.
so they would have to listen in during that period of time.
Okay.
We will look into having these as recorded webinars as well, but there might be quite a bit of a delay in getting them up and ready for them.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, are there any other suggestions for provider webinars? All right, great. Thank you everybody for your feedback. As always, we appreciate the feedback we get from you, and we will work on incorporating all of these suggestions into our webinar training plans. So with the new fiscal year, we thought this would be a good time to mention all of our updated resources on our website. And so I'm going to go ahead and switch over my screen to our website. And so let's go into our website. So this is our CACFP webpage, and we have some updates under both the meal pattern and menu planning page, and also the CACFP training page. So first, we're going to take a look at our CACFP meal pattern and menu planning page. We have a few minor updates to the menu monitoring checklist, and so I'm going to scroll down slowly so you guys don't get seasick. We're going to go down here under resources, and then so over here you can see the menu monitoring checklist. And so there's just a few minor updates to it. There's not very big edits to it, but you can see on here that we have 9/12/2018, and that's what you're going to look for when you're looking for the most updated version. In addition, we have some new updates to our Family Style Meal Service handout, and that's the one at the bottom of the list over there. And over here, the changes were very minor as well. It's just some small changes to our wording. So, you know, instead of saying that they line up, we say that they prepare for the meal and that they're coming down to enjoy the meal together. So very minor wording changes. It doesn't affect any changes at all to how you prepare or serve family style meal service. And again, this has been updated, and so you should take a look at the date that's available on the bottom of the Family Style handout, and that will show you the most recent version, which will be September 10th, 2018. We also have a new link to the Idaho CACFP menu toolkit, and that's available under our standardized recipes list. And so you can see here where my cursor is, and so I'm going to click on that. And you can see that it's very colorful. They have lots of great recipes that sponsors can use. They also have lots of different resources, you know, about the new meal pattern. This is all related to the new meal pattern, so they don't have to worry about, you know, whether some of these information are up to date or not. They also include things like conversion factors and also some additional tools for, you know, volumetric tools that can be helpful. All right, so this is a great resource to use. And in addition to that, we also have some updates to our trainings page. So go to CACFP Training Center. So that's from our main page. Go in there. And if you go and click on the top area where they say training topics and click on meal pattern, this will take you down to where we used to have our PowerPoints with our new meal pattern trainings. We have voiced over all of the trainings, and they are now YouTube videos. And so you can click on the links here, and they are available for anybody to take trainings at any time. So you can go ahead and look at those trainings. All right, so any questions about any of these updated resources?
No.
Okay. All right, so finally, the last item on our agenda is Megan will be going over updates to the meal disallow policies that have occurred since last month. And so I will turn it over to Megan.
Thank you, Shirley. First, I want to thank you all for your patience as we've worked through the revisions. There have been multiple, so I appreciate your patience on that. Based on the discussions during the conference call last month, along with internal discussion and review of memos, handbooks, and regulations, we've made some adjustments to the disallow tool. We will not be covering the entire tool, but we will highlight the changes that were made to the tool. This is an opportunity to discuss those trainings with the hope that we have finalized our tool and we'll be able to send these out to you. First thing I wanted to highlight was, as we discussed on our last call, corrective action does not equal a disallow, while a disallow does require corrective action. Corrective actions need to be documented on the family daycare home provider monitoring form. And there is a section towards the bottom of that form with a line that you can write the corrective actions there. So Shirley has them on the screen. So let's first start with the general meal pattern requirements. I've made all the changes I've highlighted in yellow for easy viewing. When we send out the tool, they will not be highlighted. We added number 1, meal snack is missing required components. And then over in the disallow findings, you will see that anytime the meal snack is missing a required component, the meal is to be disallowed. If there's an opportunity to provide technical assistance during the observed meal and the provider can add the missing component, the meal will not be disallowed. And so you'll see under the observed meal conducted during the monitoring review an asterisk next to that X. So anytime you can say, hey, you're missing your bread grain component, do you have something you can add? Then you would not have to disallow the meal. Number 4, we changed the wording in the review element to make it more clear. So 2 fruits are served in lunch, supper, dinner, instead of a vegetable and fruit or 2 vegetables. Number 6, we clarified that this is a disallow for the child meal pattern. Number 8, we had a discussion about this, and then we clarified in the disallow finding comments when a meal is to be disallowed and when reimbursement is allowed. So one thing I want to highlight here is if the medical statement for accommodating disabilities is on file, the provider must document initial contact with the parent guardian when the provider first learns of the need for modification. So that documentation has to be written down and available for your review when the provider is notified. That gives us a timeline of when the form was provided to the parent guardian for those modifications to the meal service or to the meal plan. Number 9, in the disallow section, we added that non-nutritionally equivalent milk is served without a valid medical substitute request form on file. So you guys would disallow on that. And that is a current practice. It just was not included in section 9. Number 10, clarification is provided that if a valid CEF is received during the month, the meals do not need to be disallowed. And there was a conversation about that as well that we had. On number 11 and 12, we removed that the corrective actions are not required. And this is because, again, it is not a federal regulation for hot dogs and corn dogs to be served. There's no, you cannot disallow for that. And then we can't tell them that they can't do those things either. We can recommend it, but we can't require. Number 15, we added that the sponsor has the authority to require attendance records to support meals and snacks as a part of corrective action. That previously was not included. Number 17, we added the wording when a grain component is served that day. Before we move on to the next section, do you have any questions or comments? Okay, now let's look at the next section, menu record requirements. So we had a very lively conversation with you guys last time on sections numbers 2 through 6, and based on that conversation and your desire to disallow these items when a provider does not properly document on the menu the required documentation, ODE CMP has gone back and forth on this, and we agree that the meals need to be disallowed. Providers have their menus reviewed monthly, as well as 3 in-home reviews annually. We agree with the comments made that by not disallowing the meals, we are continuing the year of technical assistance. Do you guys have any questions on this section? All right. So next, we will review the changes in the infant meal pattern requirements. In number 1, we added to provide corrective action when infant formula or breast milk is not documented as served to the infant. Number 3, this pertains particularly to Northwest Nutrition. I was not sure on CCDS's technical electronic system, but electronic systems that are automated to place infants in the correct age group are okay. Date of birth is not required to be listed on the meal menu, on the infant menu.
Ours does the same.
Okay, so that applies to you as well. Number 4, we added that corrective action and technical assistance is required. And number 5, we added that meals are to be disallowed when a parent has provided more than one component. Are there any questions on this section? Okay, so now finally we're in the last section, other CACFP requirements, and we're going to go all the way down to number 9. Excuse me, that's number 10. Pre-filling menu records. So we have looked into this topic extensively, and there is no federal regulation that supports the disallowance of pre-filled menus. In our meeting with OCC last week, we confirmed that for certified family homes, a notice that the following items are available for parents to review, the current week's menu with substitutions recorded. Based on this information, along with the federal regulation not requiring a disallow, ODE CMP does not support the disallowance of pre-filled menus. Sponsors will need to provide technical assistance to providers when they pre-fill the menu on how to properly document substitutions. Number 12, we updated the comments here that disallow for the meal only when the provider was not home. And then number 13, as requested, we added that meals served outside the ODE CMP approved meal times will be disallowed during the 5-day reconciliation and the observed meal. Disallow meals served that are served outside the approved meal times, and I listed the approved meal times there. Are there any questions on this section? All right. So we will finalize and get these out to you guys, hopefully by the end of this week, as you are starting your reviews for fiscal year 2019.
All right, thank you, Megan, and thank you, everybody. So before we end this call, does anybody have any questions or new meal pattern topics that you would like included on future calls? Okay, so if you have any questions that come up between now and our next call, please submit to the Community Nutrition inbox. Our next call will be on November 19th, 2018 at 11 a.m. So thank you, everybody, for your time. Have a great day, and we will talk next month.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.